Hey, what's up guys? It's Cam Casey, and today I want to talk about 5 tips for photographing out of a helicopter. So I just went on my second helicopter ride, and I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but I've learned a lot between the first time I went and then even more between the first and second time that I went. So I thought I would share it with you guys, for me being kind of like a beginner helicopter photographer, and hopefully you guys who are watching it are interested or have never done helicopter photography, and I thought I would give a few tips kind of speaking from like beginner-ish to beginner. So hope you guys enjoy this video.
Pick up the pieces and go.
Alright, so tip number 1 is if you have a lens hood, take it off. You do not want this. And you don't want a lens hood because when you're in the helicopter and when the wind's going and you have your camera out there, it can catch the wind and it can fly out of your hand, it can make your shots all shaky, and it's just like putting like wings on your camera in extreme winds, and you definitely don't want to do that. So that's the first tip, is do not use a lens hood. It won't help. It will only make your shots shaky, and it will hurt. And it will suck when you get back to your computer and realize that all your shots were shaky. Alright, so tip number 2 is dress warm. So with dressing warm, if you're going in a cold place during the winter or whatever, you're gonna have to dress extremely warm. And normal helicopter rides only last about 10 to 20 minutes maybe. So be prepared for it to be very cold, but it's only for a very short time. So I never wear gloves. The past 2 times I've gone, I went one time in like the cold, and then I went one time when it was like 60 degrees outside. So in the cold, I couldn't feel my fingers. Like it was brutal, but I didn't want to wear gloves or anything because I wanted to be able to touch and move the buttons on the camera, and I wanted to be able to control the camera to my best of my ability, and I didn't want gloves to get in the way of it if it was only like a 15-minute ride. But definitely you want to wear a hat, you want to wear jackets, you want to layer up. Even if it's like 60 or 70 degrees outside, being up in a helicopter with the doors off, you will be cold. And that leads me into tip number 3, is take the doors off if you can. So always talk to the pilot or someone that works there beforehand if you're able to take the doors off, because that is a key. I do not want to fly in a helicopter if the doors are on, because you get glare, you won't have full mobility with the camera. It's just so much better with the doors off because you're right there, you can see it, and you get those dirty leg dangle shots.
Nice.
And yeah, so definitely take the doors off. It is like a must basically if you're trying to photograph out of a helicopter. Alright, I'm speeding through these, but tip number 4 is using a high shutter speed, and how that's kind of like controversial topic in my opinion. Not like controversial, but I have a different opinion on it. So if you're shooting at like 35 millimeters, I would say like probably 35 millimeters and up. If you're shooting that, you don't need an extremely high shutter speed to get good shots, because if you're shooting at 35, you're going to be able to see out of the helicopter without seeing any of like the helicopter in your shots, and you can keep the camera inside of the helicopter, and it's pretty not windy like in the helicopter, so you don't have to have a super high shutter speed because your hands won't be shaking so much. So if you're trying to shoot at anything under 35 millimeters, I would have a high shutter speed, because you're gonna want to get your hands out there and you're gonna be shaky, and you're definitely gonna want to have a shutter speed of at least 250, 320th of a second for sure if you're photographing under 35 millimeters and you gotta stick your hands out of the helicopter. You definitely don't want any shaky shots. But if you're shooting over 35 millimeters, like I said, you can keep your hands kind of more in the helicopter, and you can shoot with whatever you're comfortable with. Maybe 1/125th at the lowest, or 1/100th. I get pretty risky with it sometimes, but I have in-body stabilization and the lens is stabilized and everything, so it ends up being a-okay. Alright, so tip number 5, my final last tip, is to communicate with your pilot. So you should get a headset and like a microphone or whatever, and talk to your pilot. Make sure that they know what you want to do and where you want to go and the places you want to go to, and I'm sure they'll be pretty flexible and pretty good about it. So just go on Google Earth or whatever and just kind of like pretend you're in a helicopter and like fly through your routes, and you could even show that to your pilot, or you could just have an idea of like what you want to do, or show like previous photos that you want to like try to get in the same like angle or location or whatever. Just make sure you have shots beforehand, and make sure that you know what you want to get and have an idea in mind, so you can tell the pilot so they can take you to the places you want to get. Because the last thing you want is to get up in the helicopter and the pilot's taking you all these weird places and not so good angles. Yes, given it is a helicopter, you almost can't get a bad shot out of a helicopter, but you do want to make sure that you're getting the most out of the experience. Alright, so I'm going to give a little bonus tip here, and hopefully this helps you out. Maybe you already know this, but I always, when I'm shooting out of a helicopter, I keep my shutter on high rate, like high speed shooting, and I just like fire away. Like I will just hold my camera out there and I will just get as many shots as I can. I probably get like anywhere from like 400 to 600 shots in the past helicopter rides. So I would just put it on high fire, have at least 64 gig card, have at least like, depending on how long the flight is, have at least like 700 shots and just fire away. And especially if you're just holding your camera out there and just firing away, you're bound to have one at least good, not shaky shot if you need a lower shutter speed, or if you're shooting lower light. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if it helped you out. Let me know if you're going on a helicopter tour. If you are coming to Chicago and you're looking to do a helicopter tour, I highly recommend Vertiport Tours. That is who I fly with, and they're awesome. They're super helpful, cheap, great flights, and yeah, it's just a great experience. So if you're ever in Chicago, hit up Vertiport Tours. It's great. And let me know if you're flying a helicopter anywhere. See you guys next week. Bye.